Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the Cindy Cochran Show. We hope that you're having a great day. Oh, this weather has been so good. Now, it's going to get a little bit warmer, but don't panic. It's supposed to come back cool. But I went out and tried to enjoy every nanosecond of it because I wanted to remember what it felt like. Now, you know what? I have to give up my phone. I sat there and I was going to say, do I need to call and remind your dad? And he said, no, he'll remember. And then I forgot to turn it off. I'm sorry. Okay, let's start over. Anyway, I want to thank our sponsor, first of all. He's so great. Chris Wootton is so wonderful. And the Wootton Financial Group is a wonderful place to go and talk about your retirement. So you can get the money out from under the mattress, and you can, he'll tell you what to do with it. And but he wants to have a first meeting, no charge, and you'll kick the tires, like he says, and then you'll figure out if you like each other, and all that. It's not if you have enough money, because he says that doesn't matter. You just come in there, and we'll talk about how to grow that money and how to make it work. So anyway, I told him, I said, well, what about that commercial where they say, you're probably already retired and you don't even know it? And he goes, I don't know why they say a lot of those commercials. They should have some kind of, restraint on the stuff that they say. But anyway, speaking about business, finance, and all that stuff, we've got a great show today. And it's nepotism is alive and well on the radio. And we've got Richard's dad is also Richard Schissler the third, and Richard Schissler here is the fourth, right? That's right. Okay.
Last time I checked.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, I'm excited at the opportunity. As some of your listeners know, we do a show here at Lone Star Community Radio called the Weekly Business Hour.
Right.
And we've been able to gather listeners not only from the Montgomery-Harris County area, but when we checked it last, we had listeners across the country and actually had a handful of people around the world that listen to us on a regular basis. So
that is so cool. I love that, because we do have that. We'll always say, and we're worldwide, on the internet. And so you never know who's, oh, you know what you do on the computer and you make it go this way. Anyway, I don't know the computer very much. Rick, you would love to have me as a client, because you go, Cindy, we got to start all over. No, but as you go scroll through your computer and, you say, that looks like an interesting show. So I think I'll do that. Now, unless you say something like, I'll make you rich in 10 days, but you don't say that, do you?
No, and our shows are a combination of local, meaning Montgomery County, particularly Conroe, Texas, the county seat, where we're broadcasting live from today, of entrepreneurs, small business people. And they come in and share their stories with us. And every story is a bit different. Sometimes they're really different. Sometimes we have partners come in, husband and wife, have built a business together. And those are probably the most fun for me. To kind of see if they really do communicate, and they each hold different roles, and it's amazing, and it's very educational. which is the heart of what we're trying to do.
But do you ever find out that when you talk to those partners, do you have a sense that the marriage is going to last, or you feel like, how are they ever going to do this? Because they have such opposing views and they're opinionated.
Well, I don't know that I've found people opinionated or opposing views. Probably more so if you want to look at that side of things. It's where you're not necessarily pulling your weight. You know, in other words, I'm over here doing what I do very well. For example, I'm doing the in-house or admin work, and you're out there, you know, delivering the product or service or overseeing that. And so my criticism, if you will relate to, well, I'm doing all of this, but you're not doing everything you can to make it successful. But that's not often. I've had some pretty incredible people as far as way they do it, and you know when a business is doing well because they answer each other's questions. It's just amazing. You get a sense of it.
Well, and how long they last too is a really big deal, because especially now, I can remember, you know, businesses that have been in business for 50 years, and you feel like, okay, this is pretty well established and stuff. But then you see those mom and pop things come and go, and during the time where we've had epidemics and all kind of stuff, and how they have to trying to hang on. And whenever that came, were you getting more business whenever the pandemic came?
The pandemic, I think what the main challenge I saw was not necessarily to husband and wives or partners. It was the challenge to those of us who were approaching the time, say, in the next 5 to 10 years or less, of you know, selling our business, exiting, they call it now. That's kind of a buzzword because you can transfer it to family or employees or whatever game plan you have, and people move that up. Instead of waiting another 5 years, they decided, because of the challenges, the special challenges that COVID gave to each and every one of us personally and our businesses, our jobs, whatever, that they were going to, you know, push that forward. And I saw a lot of people just close their business. They just had enough, even though they had value there that potentially, if handled properly, they could have sold and monetized their investment of time and money and whatnot in building a successful business. They just felt like, hey, I'm tired. I talked to so many people, and I think the weariness, if you will, is what the major impact I saw on small business was, the weariness.
You're right. They're just so worn down, and so many regulations coming at them, and so many things that they, you know, mandated to do and all. And you just can't imagine what that would be like in charge of all those people and their families, and you know, and they all become like families, those small business, and having to figure out, how am I going to hold them? How am I going to keep them on? It's just too much. You know? Well,
and if you know me and what I believe about business and what I've learned, because during my career I grew up in a family business, and the business grew, and it went into different businesses. It grew into different businesses. So I had a chance to really see things start and see where they went. I learned, hopefully, from the mistakes that others made, because I had a ringside seat. And I was part of it, but still. And then when I had the 5 separate different businesses that I, over a 20-some year period, that I started, bought, developed, and then sold, it's all about having a plan. And there's no magic to that. You know, and I know you'll have people that'll hear this, but I say it all the time. Your plan could be on a page, 1 page, or it could be 50 pages, like an MBA would do, or you do for a big bank loan. It doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you that you not only plan, but you utilize it. And part of that is an exit and having a strategy of saying, one of my fellow Silver Fox advisors, in fact, one of the founders, Monty Pendleton, one of the first things I ever did when I joined that group 20 years ago, attended a seminar that the group was putting on and had 100+ entrepreneurs, small business people. And Monty got up there and he took a dollar bill and he handed out a brand new dollar bill to everybody in the audience. And he says, pull your pen out. I want you to do three things for me. First, I want you to write on that dollar bill when you want to exit the business that you're either have in place or you're thinking about starting. Just put a date out there somewhere, a year, whatever. In other words, you're looking to do this for 5 years or 10 years. Think about it, but you need to decide that now. And then the second thing is, what do you want to exit with? How much money? What are you hoping to walk away with? And then lastly, which is probably the most difficult question, who are the buyers that you want to entertain? Are they strategic buyers? Are they people like yourself that want to just buy a business? Or are you going to transfer it to family? That's what you hope. And in 20 years, your plan could change.
Sure.
But you put on that dollar bill, and then you frame it right and put it behind the counter, just like the first dollar you take in used to be a common
plan.
thing. And he says that'll act as a guide as you make major decisions. Well, that's a plan. In that case, for exiting, gives you something to work towards. And we make a lot of decisions in a business, whether we're in a pandemic or not. And if we don't have a plan, again, an exit plan or another, there's business plans, renew them every year, write it up every year, share it with key people that work with you, vendors, even customers. This is what I'm trying to do. Seek other people's advice, let them look at it. Don't be afraid. And the more people you typically share it with, the better chance you are of going to be able to succeed with that plan. So
why is that
it's all about planning.
It's that sounds just like losing weight. When you decide that you're going to lose weight and you say you're supposed to share it with at least 15 people and then let it be out there, and that you feel like you'll be guilty if you haven't shared it. So since I've only shared it with 5, I don't really feel bad.
Well, you don't lose any weight because you haven't shared it, right?
No, I had not enough people because I'm afraid they will hold me to accountability. But it's also probably hugely discipline. Like if you're a disciplined person, can you tell like pretty quick when somebody comes in, clients that want to start this business, and you ask them about their plan and about that do you get a hint or just a feeling like, I don't think this is for you? Do you have to tell them, or do you just try and help them go?
No, I would say, because one of the things I personally enjoy doing what I'm doing as a Silver Fox advisor, and I'm right at 20 years of doing this, is to share what I've learned and help people succeed and meet or exceed the plan that they have in place, particularly the exit. And about half the time someone asks to sit down, because I have that free, like Mr. Wootton, that free hour, we'll sit and we'll talk.
Oh, that's
about
great.
Half the people I sit down with to have that discussion who are not already in business, they've got this idea what they want to do, I will work to convince them not to do it because there's not a fit. And that's something I think a lot of people miss.
Yes.
It's always, well, they don't have the money, they don't know. Those are the obvious ones, but you know what I find a lot of folks? They're thinking about going into the wrong business for them, their personality, who they are. And I try to determine some of that, and you can dig real deep on that. But they may have a big idea. Most of the time, businesses are started not on big ideas, but taking an existing idea and doing it better.
Right.
And I'll never forget, one time I had somebody, and he was going into a business that required a high degree of customer service. He would have a lot of consumers, right? And he didn't really like people. and I mean, you got that. He was a smart guy. He was a good guy. He had the money. He had a plan. But he really didn't enjoy, and so I told him heads up, I said, I get the impression that you don't really enjoy being around a lot of different people, so what are you going to do when you have to serve a customer? Or more importantly, if they come back with a problem, an issue, how are you going to deal with that? Because I sense that inside, at least, you're going to be irritated by that because you just don't want to deal with it. I think you're in the wrong business.
What'd he say?
We didn't engage. I didn't engage with him, and he left kind of with a thinking about it. But I'm afraid sometimes people go too far. They say, "Well, I shouldn't be in business." Well, there are businesses that you can go in where you're insulated from that to some degree.
I'm surprised you didn't say, no, that's what my people do. Yeah. My people handle those problems.
But you have no people when you start, and then you bring them on.
True.
But anyway, I think it's very important that people. It's obvious, but so many people I've met in my career hundreds, thousands of people are just in the wrong business for them, for their families too. That's one thing for being in business for yourself. It's not just about you; it's about your family. Now, whether you're married and have children or whatever, or it's just your parents or brothers and sisters or whatever, you have family, and one way or another, they're impacted by what you're doing.
Well, and if
they're
you
your
want
partners, your silent partners.
But if you want to use them in the business, that's
another
something
story
that you've got to be so careful about, because you're going to force those kids into coming in, and we're starting this this business, and we're going to do this all together. And they say, what is the business? And it's we're going to be doing dry cleaning. What? Dry clean? I have no idea what dry cleaning is. I don't care about dry cleaning. So you can't force them into it. You hate to have those kind of employees. But a lot of people do try and use the whole family, especially in restaurants and things like that they use the whole family. And you watch their kids grow up. Now they're serving you. And it's interesting how they keep that together. I mean, I give kudos to people that can keep the same family members in that restaurant business and let them take it over and do that. That to me is like the dream, if you could do that.
Yeah, for a lot of people. Some people it's the actual selling of the business, building the value, selling it for $1 million and retiring to Florida. Or in this case, what you're mentioning, what I call transfer the business to family. I'll share a story I read, in fact, earlier today. It was a true story of a family in Pennsylvania, and they have 4 generations in the business. And, it's pretty interesting. And Grandpa's, I think, 86, it said. But his father started the business, right? And they have a sawmill. In fact, have 2 sawmills. And they started in the lumber business. And it was really interesting how it evolved. They ended up in the flooring business. Specialty flooring, high end, and that was the son. It was the grandfather now, and then his son started the flooring thing and added it. I mean, they're all in one business, but they call it companies, plural. So, and then the youngest one, who is a daughter, granddaughter, niece, whatever, she does their social media. And she had left and was 20-some years old, early 20s, working somewhere else, not in the same city. But when they asked her to come do that, because they, especially this flooring business is something you do all over the country or whatever. Anyway, the long and short of it is, she says, I'll do it, but I want to work remote. And I don't want to live in our town of 600. I want to live in Pittsburgh. And so they allowed that. Even though Grandpa says, well, how do you manage someone? How do you know well, it's my great-granddaughter or whatever. I know she'll work. And sure enough, it's just thrived in the 6 years I think she's been there. The whole thing, the website and all that she took. So it is.
That's amazing.
It's a challenge it's like those moving parts, and you're able to successfully bring them together.
Well, I think that, a lot of people have a grandiose idea. They think it's a grandiose idea. They think it's like, never been done before. We're gonna just corner the market on that and get so excited about it. And they think all they have to do is make this idea known to people. That's where the social media now. Before it's TV, we had 3 channels, and you advertised on those 3 channels, and you probably will get your across. But not now. Now there's so many different ways that you can advertise, and so many different avenues. It's, to me, amazing, because when cable came along, and I was in Time Warner, and realized now all this that's been on Channel 2, 11, and 13 has got to be just torn apart. But all those salesmen at those different companies at Channel 13 and 2 and 11 did not believe that it was ever going to take off. And I look back on that, and it's so funny. It's like, it's that
laughable.
TV. Yeah, it's not going to.
It wasn't going to take off.
No, they said, it's cheap. It's just you're not selling for anything, and they were making, they sold their time for a lot because they had a lot of viewers. And they said, how are we going to know how many people are watching y'all? And it's You have no idea. So you can't go in there like we can and do that. It was about maybe 5 years later, those people were calling me for jobs. They wanted to get in on this because their clients were saying, well, I can get this on Warner Cable for this much. Why are y'all selling me? And so it was really difficult, for them to make that transition. But they realized the value of what we had, but it just took everything down to such a level of the eyeballs you were trying to get. Everybody was trying to get all these eyeballs, and it wasn't going to happen until, now we're more established, but we have more channels now. There's even more channels coming on, and now you've got the podcast coming and things like streaming and all. So how do you counsel and advise your clients about advertising? Do you just start with the social media and then kind of work their way out?
Well, it depends the kind of business. And I'll share a quick story with you that I was involved in. And this goes back 5-10 years ago, even when this all was like it's built and it's still getting momentum. The splits are still happening. The options become more and more numerous.
Yes.
Good idea. Folks had a good idea, and that was use the website, use the internet to sell burial services, primarily cremations, and do it for a lot less money than someone could go down to their local funeral home. So it was on
Right.
price. They were, 30% cheaper, and it was easy to take care of. And in their group, their startup group of partners, they had 2 people with experience with funeral home business, 1 lifetime. That's all he'd ever done is run them. He had licenses because you have to have
That's
licenses.
right,
There's
yeah.
a lot of, in certain states, it's very difficult. Like in Chicago, there's a monopoly. I think they told me like 3 different families have the whole city covered up and you can't get in. But anyway, so that's a barrier, if you will, to going into the business. But they had figured it all out. And in that case, I had one of my sons, one of Richard's brothers, who's a financial guy and runs numbers and works large businesses. And I asked John, I said, look at this business. Tell me what you see. And he actually came to a meeting with some of the principals. And he says, I see a business that's got to be scaled up. And that's one of the new mantras today. The first one is it used to be real estate, real estate, real estate. Wherever you're located, it's so important, whatever your business is. Well, now it's marketing, marketing, marketing. You've really got to handle it. And in this case, scalability. He says you can put this business together. It sounds like you've got the mechanics worked out. You can go over the 48, 50 states. But if you don't have millions of dollars to market the business, the social media and da-da-da, then once you start rolling it out, you're going to get competition left and right because the funeral home people, they've got the licenses, they've got the knowledge, and even though it is difficult to go in different states, they all have different laws. So to answer your question, it is marketing, marketing, marketing. One of my favorite things to do, though, is to work with a small local business. You mentioned restaurants. It could be any kind of store business, Main Street we call it, right? That is a neat opportunity to market a business because marketing local, yes, you have a lot of choices, but it's neat to go into a marketplace and you have 10, 20, 50,000 prospects and you just work locally and you
Right.
put that location on the map. I guess as an individual, somebody who loves business, the return, it's like birthing a baby for me. Is you can really see it. Now, if you have a national business, it takes longer, and you'll see the
Sure.
numbers. But in the local business, you can walk in and see the customers
Yes.
and tell how it's doing.
Yes.
And I don't know why every business on Main Street, every business doesn't do local marketing, social media, so on and so forth,
Well-
because it's a natural.
I was with Time Warner. I went there, and I went in as executive producer of doing commercials, and they weren't selling. They were not selling them at all. They made no money on that. They just wanted me to go in and give them an idea what I do with their commercial, and that's what we do it, and they like it or not like it. But we did that without giving them any kind of incentive to, like, you want to own part of this and you want to be a part of this. I want you to be that. And I told the president, I said, we could make money and they'll pay. No, they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay because they want to be on to 11, 13. I said, they will pay if we get it at a right price. So we started doing that. And that was what was so interesting was I tried to watch the channels and see who I think would be best on what channel and what it would do for them. And the TLC channel came out. And it was about home, what you can do to your home and all that stuff. And it was very family-like oriented and all that. And so the smaller businesses ate that up. They were getting such response they couldn't believe it. This was on a cable channel, and it was like the only channel that was really doing that. And so I thought, this is great if we really understand and we can place them, and they've got a lot of course, variety that you can put them on. That it may go well, but it was really hard going to get people to understand that. Yeah, it's not like you got thousands of people, that's going to call you up right immediately. And that's what they expected. As soon as that hit, they wanted how many calls they got. And so after we did that, it really did help. It helped have like testimonials from them to talk to the other people. And that's all I did. We'd go to somebody's place of business, and I said, you got to have testimonials. That's just, I think in the market and you're just beginning, you need to have them believe other people really like your product or whatever it is. And you see today, that's still like balance of nature, my word. That's all they use. So I don't think that'll ever go out of style, the testimonial stuff. And do you ever suggest things like that to your people?
Well, testimonials used to be part of the bread and butter of putting together, a website. That was one of the things on the checklist.
That's right.
Get testimonials. I mean, there are books or chapters in books that are written about how to successfully get a testimonial.
Right.
And they're a challenge. And a certain kind of testimonial works better than, you almost want to write it and give it to the person and say, read it, and if it's true, sign it. And I think that's been done more than once, because it's the thing about it that I think has really gotten away from some people is the time of the eyeball, that people look at something and they used to spend 10 seconds, then it was 6 seconds, then it's now it's just a blink.
No, that's right.
I mean, statistics and studies show that. So what kind of testimonial? I always say, what's going to appeal? Not necessarily just the content, but getting them to read it.
Well, you have to change, of course, the visuals every 2 to 3 seconds to keep the person even looking at it, and you can still hear the testimonial. But I tell you, you're right. And I would say to people that they say, I don't know how to say this. I don't know what to say. And I said, well, you have to say it. It has to be something you believe. Do you believe that this is the best orange juice you ever drank in your whole life? I mean, it tastes like you're drinking the orange that you would eat. And they say, yes. And I went, say that. They go, okay. As long as you believe it, and you're right, that's what you have to do. It's almost like, let me take you by the hand and let you say the things that you've told me, but now all I need you to do is say them, and that's hard for them to do.
Well, and where a testimony, for an example, this is my experience, where it may have been 3 or 4 or 5 sentences, say a paragraph, a normal paragraph. Today, your orange juice example, something like the very best, and that's my testimonial. Right? And that's what people see, the very best.
Right.
They don't know what my taste factor is or anything, but it says that people see that versus reading 4 or 5 sentences or a paragraph sometimes. I think the most successful people with testimonials, just my observation, I don't have a background or expertise necessarily, but I've used a lot of different techniques and seen how they work, is the one that mixes that up. So in other words, the very best. And then I have one that's 3 or 4 sentences. Something's got a little meat on the bone, the very best of what, So you kind of mix them.
Right.
And so if somebody wants to see the testimonial, right, then they will go to it. That's one of the things we learn in business-to-business sales, which is where I started. And I love, and the businesses I had, and there was exceptions, but I love business-to-business. It's just it's a lot more saner or something about it. But anyway, business-to-business sales, websites, especially small businesses, and this is a point I could not get across to people for so long, is they used the website to verify who you were. It wasn't an SEO game, and then the SEO became more important, but you had to have a presence. It's kind of like having a building. I had a really great sales manager tell me one time, teach me. He was a great teacher, guy from Chicago. He learned sales the hard way. But he says, and he showed me, back in the 50s and 60s, you had a letterhead for your business.
Right.
And on that letterhead, oftentimes, was a building or, a little sketch. And the building had nothing to do with your business, but it made you seem big.
That's exactly
And he told me,
right.
he says, oh, yeah, well, everybody did that. You just see that building and say, oh, these guys are a big company, where it could be somebody working literally out of their garage, right?
Right.
So
No,
that's what
right.
a website did, and the testimonials do for you is show people that at least you're organized, and just like anything else, I think it gives you, if you're sharp enough, smart enough, and willing to find good expertise in many fields in business. One of the things I'm really high on is, getting good advisors, whether it be a lawyer, accountant, whatever, and the marketing, the website. It's just night and day. When you see a good website, even if it's a very small business, say it's just somebody in business for themselves, and you see something that screams, hey, I'm a bona fide business. I can deliver this product or these services, and you can feel comfortable about it. And then if you open the door, there's nothing there, but you can make sales.
Right. Now, what do you think about TikTok? About trying to get people on that kind of
I mean, I've looked
level.
at that. I'm not necessarily a fan. I do some Facebook when I want to waste a little time. And, well, I look at film clips and things. I'm just curious of different areas, how things are being done or what people do. But TikTok I've never locked onto. And I suspect that my reluctance is the political discussion that's been going on for several years.
Sure.
And they've been outlawed in Wyoming, I think, or Montana. The whole thing, the Chinese connection is something I've dealt with. I've had clients that buy a product in China and bring it back here, some sophisticated products too in the oil field. And that whole supply chain thing's got me concerned for them, and it's already, the pandemic just showed. You talk about changing your business where you couldn't get stuff that you had to have. So I guess I've always been a little leery, for whatever reason, of that supply chain or that relationship with China.
Well,
and the
it
fact
is.
that TikTok came from there.
I know. They were so, to me, China was very ignorant. If they wanted to really make this sell in here, in the United States, they needed to come with, a lot more broader, family-oriented, but it just drew you in because of the numbers. That's what, and a lot of people, celebrities, everybody else, I don't care what China's doing, but I got 5 million people watching me because I'm on TikTok. And so that totally, blinds them to anything that to see that they're in bed with somebody that's, not good and that death to America kind of thing. And so it probably would be better if they didn't do that. And your kids, especially what they're exposed to as well. So if you put your business on there, it may be really tempting though, because of the numbers of people that are going to see that. I don't know where else you could send them. Are there other places, or where would you send them to?
Well, one thing in back up on a TikTok or even a Facebook or anything, when you say that all these people, again, as you well know, you've got to find where the market is. The fact that I have 1 million Chinese people, for example, since we're talking about TikTok, that see my ad for my Italian restaurant, it don't matter, right? I mean, it's not going to bring one dime through the front door.
Right.
Unless I get a mail order, right, for an order of spaghetti to go to Beijing.
To go to Beijing.
Well, and that's what you got to remember, right? It's that's always there. I was and tell you about sending things, but this morning I was mentoring a group of local business people in a CEO roundtable discussion. And one of the things that we were talking about is trends. And and one of the businesses is a marketing business, and he shared that he says we follow trends. We look. That's how we determine where we want to be and this, that. And so we talked about it because small businesses a lot of times are not even aware. They got their heads down.
Sure.
They're opening the door in the morning. They're, rolling out the carpet. They're cranking up the plant. They got the trucks moving. And they don't see it. But one of the things that we got in our discussion was these trends today, whereas I may have built a relationship with China that would last 50 years back just 20, 30, 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Today, relationships, this, that, everything, what's hot, what's not, the time frame is just getting condensed and condensed.
Really?
So these trends shift.
Sure.
You started talking today about diet, and I was reading a week or two ago about how a lot of the major food companies are very concerned about these shots and pills that go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the shots seem to be, some of these drugs are very effective. And so it's going to change, and they've already seen their sales drop, which is, I don't get that because the number of people utilizing the medications and whatnot is still very low. But that's a trend.
Yeah,
and
but I think
how are
it's
they going to react?
I think it's the expense of what they're looking at. If they're talking about Ozempic and that kind of stuff, because it was for diabetics, and then all of a sudden they started finding out that they were losing weight, then the people who want to lose weight they wouldn't admit to being diabetic, but they wanted to have that shot. They wanted that, and to see how that would work with them. So you see the conundrum on that, because they go like, wait a minute, we can make a lot of money, guys. Like we can sell this for weight loss stuff. And they went ahead and started doing that. But it's expensive if you're not, Medicare is not going to.
But that's normal, isn't it? It's a new product.
Yeah, true.
And so now with competition, and there's four
and as
or
soon
five
as that's
of them
that
we know about.
Yeah.
And it'll work itself down. But you're right. I've got to pony up $500 to $1,000 a month, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And see, there's already some differentiation in the price.
Right.
And some are more effective for people that need large amount of weight loss. Some, it's a market. And again, my point is that these trends, these new products, these bright ideas, they're coming, and if they can scale up fast enough, then if you need to be careful. If I'm in the food industry, like the cereal business in this country has suffered now for a number of years, and it started back up. But all of a sudden, I'm not going to buy sugary cereal anymore because I'm getting a shot, right? And so all of a sudden, their market just drops off again. And they're already coming out with products. They put stuff in the pipeline to try to react and be properly positioned.
I'm so glad you said
to
cereal.
meet the demand.
Because when you and I used to buy cereal, that cereal went to the top usually. And now it started coming down, and whenever you'd pick up the sack from the thing and pull it up, it was like half of the cereal was there. And you went, I just got a box this big, and now I'm going to have to, and it would be so, aggravating. And it's like with chips, the same way with chips was like they think we're so stupid that's what we're going to buy anything as long as it's good. But now now you can take a can of Coke that used to be able to, it took two hands to, but now you can do it with one hand and crush it with a little hand like that, because they think you're not going to notice that I'm charging you more for that, and it's a lot less, it's so much smaller than it was before. That drives me crazy. But of course, okay, now let me
go back to your question you had. What do I tell someone if their business, TikTok's not an option, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say I wouldn't go there. It all goes back to what their business is and what their market is.
Right.
There's some people I've met in my career that are just unbelievable in determining a market. So you're going to sell these cell phones. What's the market? And they're unbelievable in digging into the market. A lot of it's statistics to determine and tell you. But a lot of small business people don't want to spend the money. And again, So you don't know what your market really is. You feel like you do.
Yeah.
Right? I feel it. I feel it here,
Yeah,
right? It's here.
right.
And it's so foolish.
No, sure. No, you're
But
right.
no, it depends. My answer would depend. I have the easy part. That's what I think. It's determining what that market is. That's
You're
going
to customize it for that
to
person.
fit the
yeah.
market. And to me, that's a no-brainer. But again, time and time again, I see people that just fail to do that.
Well, they're so believing in this idea they have, and they can vision, having the big company and the big buildings and all the employees and all, and they want to do that so bad. And like you say, though, if they don't have the strategy, if they don't have the plan, if they don't have the discipline to stick with it and get through some bad times, when those bad times come, what you're going to have to try and do. Do y'all do that kind of counseling, like when somebody's hit a wall and they want to give up, and you want them to, you see that this isn't going to last. You're going to be okay. You just have to get through it.
Yes, I mean that's normally like anything. We don't go to the doctor unless we feel we're sick. So people, when their business in their mind is sick, they'll seek out, and that's one of the things, Cindy, I want to mention. In our community here in Montgomery County, Harris County, next to us, there are so many resources out there of quality people and processes that don't necessarily cost you anything or cost very little to visit with you people. I mean, you've got Houston Community College. They've got their own school of entrepreneurship and tremendous programs. And some of them are remote, some of them you go on. They have their own campus for entrepreneurship over in the A-Leaf area.
Oh, they do. Oh,
You've got right down the street from where we're sitting right now you've got St. Thomas, the same kind of thing. You've got the Small Business Administration has a program where you can walk in and someone will be there to help you, do what you do. Our organization, the Silver Fox Advisors, we're an association of men and women. We finished our main career track, and we want to stay involved. And a lot of us have a practice like I did where I charge and work with businesses and stuff. But we all do CEO roundtables.
Well,
okay,
how
which don't cost you anything.
These people are listening to you, and they're going like, I want to be with this guy. I want to party with him, and they want you to advise them. Would they still have that chance, or are you doing other things now?
Well, again, I represent several chances for people to connect. One is through our own Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. We have a CEO roundtable, which I mentioned I was at this morning. We meet on a monthly basis. It's a collection of businesses, and it doesn't cost you anything. You need to be a member of the chamber,
Right?
But it's voluntary, and we've got just a really good group of business people in different businesses, and we just come in and share our challenges and help each other, kind of like having your own advisory board.
Right. Well, that's what
So that's available.
the Chamber of Commerce has always, been there for people to do things like that. I don't think they get enough publicity about it, but I'm glad you said that.
But this chamber is really forward-thinking, and the Foxes are located throughout the city of Houston and have these roundtables through various organizations. We even do roundtables for nonprofits. Here in Montgomery County, we have 2 of those, so we work on the business side of the nonprofits. And we've got 18, 19 members total, nonprofit members. So that's one thing. One
that's
way.
Great.
The second way they can get that I can help them, if they come to me, I've got like 50 Silver Foxes from all kinds of backgrounds, from Fortune 100, president, CEO of a Fortune 100 company, down to a guy like me that just started businesses and built them, sold them, and
But
everything
do I
in
go
between.
to silverfox.com or what?
Silverfox.org.
.org.
And you can look for an advisor, and we're independent, so we all have different arrangements of how we work.
And you're listed in that.
But if they ask me, I will say, well, here's 2 or 3 people I know in the organization that would really have a background to help you.
Right.
So I can refer them directly into that. And then the third way, which I mentioned some of the programs, for an example, the Houston Community College program, they have an annual business plan competition. And you don't just show up and compete. They run you through a series of classes to teach you about how to start your business, how to build the plan, and all that, okay? And then if you're successful, you win a whole bunch of money. I mean, it's very competitive.
Wow.
But you have advisors, some of the silver foxes, some are just business people that work with you. It's invaluable. And the cost to do that is just minimal. And that's a real short term, like 2 or 3 months total.
Right.
And you just come out of there much better
Inspired,
equipped.
yeah, and inspired.
Even if you don't win the big money, right? You do.
Well, winning the big money would be a good thing. But we're talking to Rick Schissler, and he is the host of the Weekly Business Hour. Tell me what day they can catch you right here. When can they?
Well, we
watch
broadcast live every Monday at 11 a.m. right here on Lone Star Community Radio. And again, we focus on educating, communicating. We have like a little community, and always have a featured guest, either an entrepreneur, or a local business person, or an expert. And our experts they come from all over the country, and they talk about an expertise, whether it be insurance for the business. This past week we had an expert to talk about what you and I were talking about earlier, exiting your business. It's a company that has 10 offices throughout the country that work with small businesses under 50 million down to, just any business, and help them sell their business. And they actually do the selling part. And it was really interesting. I have had other guests that do that, but I learned something all the time about how these companies help you. In other words, use their expertise. They've got a fee. I mean, you got to pay for this. But if you truly want to sell your business. But anyway, so we are able to attract some really great experts to come on and talk about areas that would benefit, or that every business or most businesses need that kind of expertise.
And that's 11 o'clock on Monday. Can people go to the Lone Star Community Radio website, Facebook page, and can they go ahead and write comments about what they'd like to know about and that?
Well, what I do is I do a segment in the show called the Mailbag, and there's encouragement throughout the show to send me an email to Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. And so what people do is, one of the things they can do is say, hey, I got a business challenge, or I've got a question. And they send it to me, and either I answer a lot of them on the air, in the mailbag, if you will, or I respond directly to them with an email. But everybody gets an answer, gets a response.
That's good. I wish I'd known about that when I tried to get a hold of you. I'd gone the mailbag. Poor Rick. He's driving along. Your son has this very same, problem with me, because he's trying to drive home from work, and I call him and I said, Rick, so when are you going to be on the show? I said, what are you doing right now? And are you busy? Well, I'm trying to drive home. And he's usually doing stuff as well. And he goes, he doesn't answer with hello though. You're very nice. He goes, are you okay? Okay, all right. Well, call me later. And then and that's it. He doesn't have I don't think your sense of how to be sweet and kind and patient. Do you
well,
feel
that's not necessarily true. I'm going to give you my secret.
Okay.
I grew up in a family business, and I was the first of my generation born. And this is a story, I tell it often because I used to get teased by the family. My mother worked in the business like a lot of people. This is post-World War II. Grandparents started the business, and my mother and my dad met in college at SMU. My dad's from Philadelphia, and my mother got my dad a job as a night watchman. Back then, we didn't have burglar alarms. We had night watchmen. But anyway, the long and short, between my mother and her father, particularly, who my dad got along really well, convinced my dad to come into the business. They didn't even finish college, my mother and dad. And so here comes my dad, my mother, with my grandfather and my grandmother. They were in the business every day. And when I was born, I was in the business in a little basket, supposedly, sitting on my mother's desk. She was the bookkeeper, or one of the bookkeeper, until my sister was born, and then she retired permanently. But I grew up in this business. And one of the things I learned along the way, because you couldn't buy the education I got, was the most important employee, my dad used to tell me, in the whole company was the single most important, the receptionist. And it's all about impression and when people call. And it was always a hard job to fill because it was boring at times. And we used to talk about that. So I was taught, literally taught, and I listened. I used to be a really good listener about how to answer the phone, how to talk to people, how to respond. Yes, ma'am, thank you, please. And those things get you a long way.
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't seem that way. Every time I've used the word help in my life that I can recall, can you help me with this? 98% of the time I got the help, even from some of the roughest, toughest, grumpiest people. When you say, can you help me?
And the magic word was, please, can you help me? And
it works.
And it does work. I think Richard is amazing. He has to do so many things at one time. And so I really, a lot of times, I just tease him. I don't know if he's teasing me, but I tease because it makes for more interesting conversation. But he's really good, and I really have appreciated him letting me be here. And he just says, Cindy, just let me know if you're having a stroke or if something's happening, what to look for, and I can go to break. And that's all he asks. It's so nice of him to do that.
Well, that's the heart of what we're doing here at Lone Star Community Radio, is people have an opportunity to have their own show.
Yes.
And they can come in. They got to have some sense about it. Got to have a plan, right?
Right.
Of what they're doing, what they want to do. They have to follow some rules because the FCC's out there, and so on and so forth. But it's a nonprofit community project, and Dick came to me some years ago and had this idea, and he was super passionate about it.
Yes.
About bringing this community together,
and he
making
still
it
is.
Stronger.
Yes.
And it's a small piece of it, but it's an important piece.
Well, it is. It really is. And I have I've enjoyed it so much. I wanted to go on radio before I went on TV. That's where I wanted to be. And so whenever this all happened and it was so close to us, that's what I was so excited about that. And he's doing this, and I know what this means. Wrap it up. Thank you, Rick, so much. You guys, Rick, on Monday, 11 o'clock, and y'all just tune in this station, yes, for sure. And I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at live streaming. And so I get to be with your son so much more than you do. I'm so sorry. But he's a jewel. Listen, who else is Chris Wootton with the Wootton Financial Group, our sponsor, and also the first responders. We always want to say how much we respect you, love you, and thank you so much for joining us today, everybody, and thank you, Rick, again so much.
Well, thank
Bye-bye.
you, Cindy.
See ya.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran's show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton Financial Group, or any of their representatives.